What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of BS for Build. In today's episode, the engines are coming out of the boat. That thing way up there, somehow gonna just, unbolt and eject two engines that both weigh about 3,200 pounds dry, and then we're gonna put them on the trailer right where Oscar is. That's what's in store for today's episode. Stay tuned. Before we get down to work, I want to take a second out to thank our sponsor. Today's episode is sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends. You probably already heard about Raid by now, but let me tell you why. As far as gameplay, it has the most complex, in-depth gameplay around. With 500 champions to collect, each with their own different skill trees and millions of artifacts to find and to equip, no two champion builds are ever the same. And that makes for literally trillions of different ways to build your team. It's crazy in depth, and there's endless amounts of different strategies to figure your way through the game. A few things that I personally like from the time that I've played the game, my favorite part is the PvP battle arenas. I love getting in there, playing against another player online and seeing how well my champions stack up against theirs. I also like that there's a bunch of different factions that you can choose from, and then the factions all have their different champions within them. And a little pro tip, if you want to get the best weekly rewards, you should join a clan and fight the clan boss every single week, and that's going to get you some great rewards. And there's some new stuff coming this month. Raid is about to release a huge champion update, tweaking over 20 different champions and rebalancing them to make the PvP battle arena even more competitive. And the Forge is coming up, so now you can save time and start crafting top quality artifacts and start competing right away. So what are you guys waiting for? It's a great game, and they have supported this channel endlessly. So go get it, go try it out. It'll help me and it'll help them. Go to the video description, click on my special link. If you're a new player, you're gonna get 50,000 silver, 50 gems, 1 energy refill, 1 clan boss key, 5 mystery shards, 1 day XP booster, and a free champion, the Hex Weaver. That's a ton of stuff. And this new champion, the Hex Weaver, is a great way to get started. It's a good boost to your gameplay, and it's gonna help you level up a lot faster. Now, the rewards are only available for the next 30 days and only for new players, so guys, go get on it. You can access it right here. I'm pointing to it on screen. So good luck, guys, and I'll see you on there. Thanks to Raid Shadow Legends for sponsoring this episode. Now let's get down to work. Looks like we got another powerboat friend coming to join. Maybe we can borrow his engines. Getting started on our journey of pulling engines, we need to first pull the excess water that's in the bottom of here, the water oil mixture. So we vacuum it out of there, it goes into the vacuum bucket, and then from the bucket we got a 50-gallon drum in the back of the truck that we are going to fill up, and we're gonna really hope that there's not more than 50 gallons of stuff in here. Let's get started. Alright, we have finished our water and oil cleanup. Got most of it out of there, definitely enough that we can see what we're doing. See, we filled up our 55-gallon tank about 20 gallons, 25 gallons, 27.5 gallons. Next up, we got to start planning the evacuation of these engines. So this part of the boat doesn't come out. You can see it's like solid attached right here. This stuff doesn't come out. Up there, that thing right there actually comes out. So those seats come out and that thing comes out. Big question I have is, is there any way that we're going to be able to get this engine out without removing our roof right here? I think that we might have to bring a crane in from the side and lift straight up, which means removing our roof. So we're going to do a couple things. We're going to run some measurements, measuring tape, figure out how tall our engine is, or I could just look back at our last video and that'll tell me because I have the measurements somewhere. And then see how much room we have through here and here, space around here. And then also we're going to jump into that side panel and see if there's a bunch of bolts that bolt this thing on, because the roof is not fiberglassed right on. It's actually, you can see there's like some silicone in the join. So that might be a sign that this roof is designed to be detachable. Time to do some research. We've come up with a plan for how we're going to get all the furniture out. So, I don't know if I said before, this piece, that piece, that piece, and the ground piece all have to come out. And we decided we're going to try and use a forklift. I know there's a forklift around here, but we can't do that till tomorrow because it's getting close to like end of normal working hours today. So we got to work on what we can work on, which means starting to unwire these engines. There's a main wiring harness for each engine that runs through that bundle right there. Goes to different things, like you can see a couple sensors right there, one of the sensors on the fuel system over there, a bunch of stuff down there in the grounding. So what we're going to do is take pictures, document the wire routing for everything and where each wire goes and how it bolts into each thing, and then we're going to start undoing that. And we're going to focus on wires first, then we'll go to things like the prop shaft and the cooling system. We got the engines unwired. There's really not that many wires that go to these engines. It's really very, very simple, which is nice. So the wiring loom is undone, and now it can just feed back. You can see that big black part that just feeds back through, and will completely come off of there. So tomorrow we're gonna look at the coolant stuff, but for tonight it's getting late. This place is kind of closing up, so we gotta find a hotel. This town Astoria where we're keeping the boat is 2-hour drive away from Portland where we live. So we've just moved to Astoria while we film this episode. So we're gonna stay at a hotel. And we have the best luck with choosing hotels, so let's see how this goes. On the road, hotel review. Listen, we couldn't do any weird alcohol because there isn't a liquor store, but the hotel room smells like a sweaty sock. Yep. And other than that, it ain't bad. I scanned the bed for bed bugs. And what can I say? Can't complain. We're gonna play some cards. I got a bunch of Oregon lottery tickets, and whoever wins each round of cards is gonna get a couple lottery tickets, and we'll let you know how it goes. All right, we played a little bit of gin rummy, and turns out I won all of these. Kyle won some of these. Oscar won all of these. We're gonna scratch them all. We're gonna do a little mini Mr. Beast. Dude, if you get $1,000, what are you gonna do with it, Oscar?
I'm gonna gamble it.
Boy, do I have an update for you guys. I don't even know where to begin. We're making a trip back home to get some more stuff to work on the boat, and there was a rattling sound in the front right, and I thought it was the suspension. Turns out it wasn't. Is the axle banging around in the backside of our hub, and that's because the front pin that holds it steady, you can see it's still right here, and the axle, so it just sheared right off, which allowed that thing to just bang around in there, and it was damaging a lot of stuff. So we pulled over at a Harbor Freight, we bought a jack, and we tried to start getting it out, and then we got it stuck. So since the axle is trash, we're in the process of now cutting the axle in half so we can put the wheel back on so we can move stuff around. It's interesting. There's an O'Reilly's right there, so I'm gonna go ahead and call them and see if we can get a new axle while we're here. We're in luck. Like one of the very few stores in this area of Washington that even has the axle in stock happens to be the one that I could see from right here. So I'm gonna go buy it. We cut this thing in half. They actually use solid axles on the front end. So I'm gonna go over there and pick up a replacement axle while these guys work on putting the wheel back on so we can change our jacking point a little bit and get that shock out of there. Well, we kind of missed all the action, but we can still show you. I went and bought an axle, but the axle nut is still stuck in there. We're not gonna be able to get it out. So what we went ahead and did was, if you look right there, that's the end part of the CV boot. We just cut the CV boot in half and then pulled the CV out of there and slammed that piece back in there, and it'll stay in there. So we're three-wheel driving it home. We are back at the boat, ladies and gentlemen, and it is a windy one today. Very windy. I apologize. I know the audio is gonna be tough, but bear with us. Let's get on the boat and I'll show you where we're picking up progress. So the engines underneath here are mostly ready to come out. We still got a couple odds and ends to detach, but for the most part they're ready to come out. Other things that got to come out before we can take the engines out are obviously these two guys, but before that we need to take this guy, and then that whole front piece needs to come out as well. So we're going to need the help of a forklift. Hopefully we can get one of those out here today, but we're going to go ahead and get started on right now is all the wiring that we built in for our stereo system that runs down and around over here. We need to go ahead and trim that up and make sure that there's no other wiring going into these two boxes, and get them detached and ready to come off the boat. got the seats off of here and back here, and what we're figuring out is the forklift looks to be hourly, so we're trying to get this so we can do kind of everything at once. So those are ready to go, the thing behind it's ready to go, these two are ready to go, but this thing that I'm standing on right here, we don't know how this comes out yet, and that's the next little mission. So we're gonna open up both the hatches, climb underneath here, and loosen this piece up. It's a huge piece, and we're gonna loosen it up, get it so it's ready to come out, and then we'll call the forklift and hopefully get everything off board all at once. We've got the floor detached and we scooted it this way a little bit. That is a really heavy piece. What we're gonna be able to do though is we're gonna have to like slide it back till it gets around here and then hopefully pull it out. We're gonna have to attach some straps throughout it and then pull it up with the forklift. So now we have to call a forklift. As you can see, we're surrounded by our furniture. Let's see if we can hopefully get a forklift over here and start to get some of this stuff unloaded. So as you can see, we got most of our furniture off with the help of the forklift. This guy is going to be a different story. It's really heavy. It's not something we can lift over the side, so we're going to have to kind of strap it up and heave it out. So Oscar and I are going to work on clearing out what's on top of it and maybe trying to bring it back this way a little bit, but you can see with the table being here, or maybe we're going to unbolt the table. I'm not really sure. We probably should do that too now. We're just going to try and kind of get it this way as far as we can, so we have the best luck with maybe getting it with the forklift one way or another. Spent all this time getting the quick release knobs off the bottom of the table to find out some joker glued the table to the floorboard. I don't know if that was done in Italy when this thing was made or if it was done afterwards, but yeah, that table comes with that piece of wood now. So table's down there. Very good. Now we got to try and get the tool set off of there and start trying to work this thing back. We got the front decking moved back, but we unfortunately are out of forklift time, so we can't get the forklift in here to hoist this thing out of there. So we're gonna do that first thing tomorrow. So we'll hoist this out and then we'll hoist the engine out. So the next thing that we're gonna focus on is the final removal of everything off the engine. So we're basically ready to, oh geez, I'm moving this on accident. Final removal of everything off the engine so they're ready to be pulled out. So there's not a lot left. What we're gonna get started on is removal of the prop shafts. So the prop shafts, you can see are, now you can see, they're right there. There's a couple bolts on a collar that connects it into the transmission, and it looks like there's a bit of a channel in there, so we take the bolt out, we should be able to slide it down. So we're gonna go ahead and try and do that, get the prop shafts off of the transmission. So this is our prop from inside, and we got both of these bolts off here, and we thought then we were going to be able to kind of slide it out. And you saw me down there hammering on the prop lightly, you know, not to break the prop, but it's not going to slide out. So it looks like we got to take all these Allen bolts off from around here. And once we do that, there's probably like, what, probably 8 of them? No, maybe 6 or 7, who cares? Anyways, take all those off. Hopefully then we're gonna be able to detach this from the engine, just, you know, slide it back to like around here would be fine. And then we can work our engine off. There we go, we got the first one detached. So what we ended up doing was taking the 7 bolts out, and then you saw us go down there and spin the propeller while pulling back on it, and that actually was able to kind of spin it through all these seals. These seals like grip onto that prop shaft very, very hard, way more than I thought. It actually takes a lot of power to get those things spinning. So that was interesting. We'll definitely loosen up the other one in the shaft seal a little bit more than we did this one. So now we just got to go ahead and unbolt the other one. Same process. I'll be down below rotating it so Oscar has access to all the bolts. And we get all the bolts out and we'll team up and spin it out and be ready. You see the nice shiny spot right here where we got this one out as well. So we got both the props backed out. Looks like we've got, that's interesting. Somebody put the zincs on different areas because this one you can tell is backed all the way there. That one's definitely got some space. Anyways, that doesn't really matter. So both the props are out. Let's find the last few things we got to do on the engines. Oscar's already jumped down here and it looks like he's decided to go for the transmission linkage. So you can see right where his hand is right there. There's a linkage that runs all the way up to our trans sticks over there. Anyways, yeah, we got to figure out how to unbolt that thing and then kind of feed it back through. That's going to be a total pain. All right, another step in the right direction. So what we got was the transmission linkage. It's disconnected, so it runs from up there down there, and well, now it doesn't anymore. It actually runs up there, and that's where we're keeping it. And then the other thing that we did was get the coolant line. So this is pretty cool. The boat pulls in fresh water right down there, pulls in fresh water, runs it through a filter right there, which comes through here and then into a pump that's that thing with a little bit of corrosion on it, that like teal corrosion on it right there. And then, well, it does magical stuff that we don't really know yet. We're gonna figure that out when we get it home. But we had to get that disconnected because that line stays with the boat. It stays down there. So we got that disconnected here and over there. So the next thing we're going to do is look at the engine mount bolts. I'll climb down there and give you a better look at those. So on each corner of the engine, the way that this thing mounts up, it's nothing like a car engine mount. They have bushings and bolts and plates. So you can see that plate has a bunch of bushings and bolts in it. And then this has like kind of an angle bracket that goes down and a nut under it and a nut right there. So it sits on top of those. So those have the rubber isolators in them, sit in a beam that runs down the boat. And then, you know, this kind of sits on there. So when we take that nut off, the engine still has to come up and then that'll slide off of that bolt and that'll free the engine. So we have to get those nuts. It's going to be very challenging to get these nuts off of the top of the motor mounts on all four corners of the engine. But once we get that done, this thing will be ready to be chained up and we can start thinking about lifting it out. Chelsea joined us out here in Astoria for the night. She hasn't seen the boat since we got a dry docked here. I'm curious to see what her reaction's gonna be. What do you think?
Oh. Whoa.
It's different, huh?
How do you get all that out of there?
Well, was there, and then now we have to forklift this out tomorrow, and the rest of the boat is under the boat. Yeah. All right, guys, it is a new day and it's forklift time. So the forklift's coming over in about 10 minutes. So I'm gonna go ahead and while Oscar's getting the last few nuts off of the engine mounts, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up that back piece of decking so we can lift it out with the forklift so we have something to grab onto with that forklift. And then we're gonna have the forklift operator here at the yard kind of give us advice on how what machinery we should use and what we should try and do to get these engines out. Well, the engine, we're trying to get one out today. All right, we got the back decking off. Oscar actually operated the forklift. That was pretty cool. And we just swung her down here and got it down there. So let me show you what it's like up there now. So with the decking off, we got a little bit more room to move around, and we actually talked to the guys that run the yard here. Rather than trying to operate the forklift, have the forks come in all the way through here, they're thinking we take the bimini off, and they're gonna use a crane and pull it straight up. We're gonna try and rotate it to the side, because I can do the measurement from here. I can tell you from there to there, it's not gonna fit. So we're gonna probably have to rotate it to the side and then keep going up, and we're gonna go way, way, way up and get it out. The only thing that's a little sketchy about that is with the weight of this, if it swings at all and it hits any of this interior stuff, it's just gonna demolish it. So we just gotta cross our fingers and hope it goes well. So the engine's ready to go. We're gonna get that chained up, and Oscar and I right now are gonna go ahead and uninstall the bimini completely. We're just gonna take it totally off. Bimini is pulled back. We didn't decide to take it all the way off because there's no point. Chain is on the engine. We got this guy looking at me now. So this is gonna get exciting. Gonna go all the way from there, over this, down, up, and then hopefully back. I don't know. Oh, to say I'm nervous is an understatement. It was kind of sketchy watching this thing come down for me. Turns out that's too far of a distance to go from there. So we're actually gonna go ahead and move it. We're gonna come out from over there. We're gonna kind of come in this way, which is, sounds cool to me because that thing's not over my head the whole time. I know it's not gonna tip over, but it's still scary. Oh, I really hope we don't end up using this view. Oh, it's coming up. Jesus Christ, dude. Okay. I shouldn't be taking a break to film this right now, but how crazy is this? This thing's just swinging around, we're controlling it right here. And we've got it now at the right angle that we think it needs to be, so now we're just gonna try and go straight up into space. I, in one small way, have control of this engine. So we're gonna cruise through here with the trailer and try and get it just basically right under that right there, because we can't spin out anymore or else the back of that thing will hit the sailboat behind it. All right, we are in. Now we just got to get wood blocks that go under each of these engine mount locations. Which looks like it's going to be a little harder than we had thought. Oh man, there's like nothing to... That's going to be sketch. We got to figure out a way to get this thing and hold it up in the air so it's not on its oil pan. These aren't built to set on their oil pans because they weigh way too much. All right, we're all strapped up. The yard was kind enough to let us borrow a bunch of big boards so we could put this thing on. Barely off its oil pan and it's still sitting. So anyways, we're all strapped up, good to go. Let's get this thing back to the shop. We made it back, safe and sound, at the Bees for Build headquarters. Got our engine here. In the next episode, we're gonna start tearing it down, find out what we broke. And one more thing, we got some new merch. Our anti-2020 2020 Club shirts are in. So they say Bees for Build here on the front, and we got the anti-2020 2020 Club. If 2020 has been a tough year for you, as it kind of has for us, engine problems, car problems, lawyer problems, whatever problems you got, go to bsforbuild.com, pick yourself up an anti-2020 shirt. All right guys, see you in the next episode when we tear into this engine. Peace!